If I tell you right now that reading is good, as you probably have heard from years of growing up from your parents, your teachers, will you agree with me? Most likely, right? So, most of us know that reading is good for us. So, why is this what our once we carry around a book with us like we good to do something that's supposed to be good for us? Well, I'm really not here to criticize you for not doing so. So I myself think that no everybody has to do that to prove your love of reading. Let me tell you about my experience with reading. Growing up, I always loved it. I used to read magazines, fairy tales, comic books. Back then, I was a kid. Back in secondary school, I could read novels and science books. That came the peak of my so-called reading career in grade 7, where I was doubling the quantity of books I was reading, and at that same time, I become extremely selective with what I read. Actually, to tell you the truth, being selective with what I read is just a fancy way to cover up the real thing that happened back then, which is me wasting a lot of time questioning whether or not I should pick up a book. Let me just describe to you is exactly what was happening back then. I stood in front of the stack of books like this, and I could think, well, if I read the book, is that going to help me show my homework? No. Then I was not going to read it. And I can't being so selective because I thought that wasn't good. But eventually I realized that I was not being productive at all. And I started asking myself why, because I was doing something that was supposed to be good, which was being selective. But then I'd end up wasting time instead of actually getting my reading done. So after years to observing and I know reflecting on what I did then I have come to notice something in teenagers that I would like to call the skepticism in the power of reading. So, what is skepticism in the power of reading? To me, I would like to define my definition of skepticism in reading as having doubts in the process of reading and thinking of reading as a means to solve an immediate problem. So for this type, the skepticism of reading and over practical approach to reading. I classify these people into two types. The first type are the people who never really reading a trend because they cannot possibly think of how reading can help it in any way. The second type of people who those who actually have false beliefs in power books, but after not seeing themselves getting instant results, they give up and believe terrified into strong disbelief. For both these types, there are some mindset shift they're going to have to make in order to break free from these limited beliefs about books. Now, let us to get started with the first time, the over practical. These people are who spend time sitting to convince themselves that reading cannot possibly help them get to better in any way. They cannot see how reading book is going to make their lives immediately better. For example, if I'm having this really difficult math homework and reading this book is not going to help, then I'm not going to do it. That is the mindset of people in Taiwan. Now, If you ask the people if they think reading is good, they really like to say yes. So they do think that reading is good, but easier said than one. Then only look at the short-term benefits of reading, which is how is going to be benefit them today, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow. Do with to which they do not see any possibility of what they read changing anything. Them don't get me wrong through. These people are not lazy. In fact, on the bright side, they may be someone who is extremely result oriented and particular with what they spend their time on. However, is they think reading is a mean to solve an immediate problem or simply consider it temporary motivation, they start questioning the progress of reading if they doesn't actually have them, for example, to show their homework. I have been in this position, to be honest with you, and while you think that it is so hard to convince these people to maybe just reading is Jane is really not that easy. Let me just play it out how a conversation with this type of person could go. You could tell them, why is it so hard to try get reading to see if it works for you? Then with their super logic could say, could you study literature to get better at math? Obviously, I'm not going to study literature to get better in math, right? And that is a logic. If it doesn't help me to solve my homework, if it doesn't get me to get better at school immediately, why should I waste hours on it? So now moving to the next time, which is disbelievers. These people are interested in is they used to have strong beliefs in books. They used to be ones like me to stand here right now to tell you that reading is good. But the thing is, after reading several times and not seeing themselves turn into genius overnight, they give up. They lose the motivation. So for this time of people, the problem really isn't with the expectation for results, because as leader we should always expect an outcome to come out of everything that we do. The problem is with their degree of expectations that they set for their results. When you read something and you expect results to come overnight, and reality doesn't turn out that way, it can extremely discouraging and even frustrating. So therefore, no matter how strong your initial belief in book were, you eventually just stop believing in them, and then you refuse to buy what you consider a packed batch to waste of time and energy, along with complementary rip and disappointment even again. And that's how we arrive at the second time people. Now, for both times, there are some realization that they are going to make the order to break themselves freedom these limited beliefs. The problem with tip 1 is that they limit themselves to only what they think can happen. For example, if I'm reading this book, I need to know exactly how it's going to benefit me and need to see that scenario. But really, among these main things that we can predict, what happens to us, failures, and the best life opportunities is not one of them. You should not be over worried about what will you read today will benefit you tomorrow and be over attack you how exactly that will play out because we don't know. I know that right now you have entry, the time, the curiosity to learn. I don't know if that also holds true in the future, for the future. Back then, I was having this problem as well. Then was that's this story that really inspired me to maybe step out my comfort zone to test the theory out. It's a story about Steve Jobs I came across. So we know Steve Jobs is, right? Hello, a phone user. He's the CEO and founder of Apple. He's the one genius that we know. We know that he's run Apple. So basically, we did what has to do with information technology and business. So we could expect a person like to be stopped with knowledge from business, books and books on it. But back to university, he took a calligraphy class just for fun. So what calligraphy is basically to put a symbol in the act of writing fancy letters that you can see in cards and body cards. You know that talk about Hitop is just for fun and personality for me. I could never imagine a way to calligraphy could help with someone who is doing business, information and technology. And maybe he didn't know how to good help either, but eventually his knowledge on calligraphy, the knowledge he took from the calligraphy class, coming to user that he was designing interface for the MacBook. This story really inspired me to maybe try out and stop doubting so much to whether or not I'm cleaning now. It will come used in the future and I know I come to that. Every single piece of knowledge that you are talking will come back have you at point of time, especially when you least expect it. That is why you should stop doubting so much about whether or not you should learn something.